Hello, every folks, and good morning. Welcome to another edition of The Thing Where We Don't Move in Tactics Ogre Reborn. So, okay, this time around, I was teasing last time that there would be more kind of fancy tech involved for this particular fight because, in a lot of cases, Zapan's AI will actually decide to get kind of paranoid as you start completely rolling his soldiers and decide to go hang out on that back island. So what I was expecting to have to do is make use of the fact that the rune fencers have built-in wade, knock them into the water, shield bash, and then arrow push them over to the other end of the map where they might be able to use missile spells to go plink him down. Now, it turns out that, yeah, if you just decide to never leave the starting island area here, you basically can just kill the guy just fine. He'll eventually decide to come forward because he sees that you're not bothering to approach him, and frankly, that's just a little bit of an insult to his honor or whatever. Also, additionally, just ignore that Denim is floating upside down in the water. It's fine. He's okay, maybe. So eventually, with enough firing, we convince Paul of the IRS over there to go ahead and join us. Now, I left his name as Paul because this is the fourth time, I kid you not, I've gotten to this guy. His name has been Paul. I don't know why his name's always Paul. It's not like it's guaranteed. It's just super weird that it's always Paul for some reason. Anyway, IRS was our guy from the Nothing Burger Challenge, so he is now Paul, who works for the IRS. Anyway. We also recruit Oswin. He is a beast tamer. He is also temporarily switching over to a Varden. That's going to be his next job for the time being. Anyway, we move on to the Aerosel versus Decurion fight, in which we get one of the best drops that we possibly could get, even though I tried actively to kind of sabotage my attempts at getting it. That ferry up there at the very top is amazing. Not only are they the first ferry that you can actually recruit in the game, but additionally, if they die, they will drop Major Heal, which is your first AoE heal that's available for quite some time. I don't know why they drop Major Heal, they just always do. Anyway, she is useful to take out if you cannot recruit her, though again, I did attempt to do so, because I would prefer the absolute meme of doing this whole thing with a bunch of fairies. Unfortunately, she decided no. We'll eventually get some fairies later, just because it's funny. There's really no optimal reason to use fairies, aside from the fact that they're maybe a little bit faster, and we might be able to cheese some stuff, but a lot of their best features are simply completely worthless in a run like this. Any darn ways, our problem in this situation was twofold. For one thing, we had a boss that was reasonably tanky. Vance is one of the higher vitality boss units kind of for where he is in the game at any given time that he shows up, and additionally, he loves to attack at close range. A lot of our best armor-piercing options are actually not at immediate range here, just due to the fact that I wanted to use a lot of longbows, rocks, all of that kind of thing, given the whole swamp situation here. If you're wondering what happened to Aerosel, she actually did attempt to get closer to where we are right now, and got to about that tree, and then just decided, you know what, fuck it, Leroy Jenkins. Anyway, she died. So, moving on. We have Paul over here, who is going to be in a good position to go start attempting to scare people, but since we are in the beginning of the game, we're not going to see amazing returns coming out of Lament just as of yet, but it is worth keeping around for the massive bonus they can potentially give you. Alright, so, from here on out, we go ahead and we use a stick to try and generate additional MP. For some reason, I thought I was going to go recruit somebody. Didn't quite happen. Yeah, Voltaire ended up dying because, unfortunately, our dude man over there is just kind of refusing to get within our weapon range. As you do, our stuff gets stolen by the absolutely rudest friggin' golem here that you've ever seen. Guy just comes in, steals the dead body of our friend, and is like, oh, sweet, looting. Like, dude, he's right there. What are you doing? He just died. Have some respect. He did not. Anyway, at this point, we continue firing on everybody else, and eventually, we end up losing Sarah here as well. So that's basically all of our named characters. Oh well, hope you like silence. Anyway, moving on from here, we end up continuously generating more MP by bonking that guy at the back of the head. If you're wondering, in reality, it actually has nothing to do with generating MP in this particular situation. I actually just want to get her Wrathful Strike unlocked a little bit sooner. I can just kind of get her skill ranks up at this point, seeing as her ranks are extremely minimal, and additionally, she should be getting pretty much maximum bonus towards skill rank from where she is right now. Anyway, so Oswin over here is going to be our new replacement wizard. Same old skills as before, but this time we're going to go ahead and attempt to replace Deadshot with Tornado, because it would be nice to actually have some close range options, because as much as I loved taking convenient diagonal shots, in this particular case it definitely screwed us over a decent bit. I'm sure I won't immediately regret this decision. Also, I'm hoping that the dogs barking at the mailman in the background aren't immediately readily coming through the microphone. I'm hoping they don't. It seems quiet enough that they won't, but yeah, currently they are very upset at the fact fact that mail exists. Anyway, so we have some Birdman that decides to attack us during the ninja fight, who will attempt to go and harass everybody over. Okay, I'm not sure what we were just talking about. I did have to go deal with those dogs. If anyone's ever had a a few dogs next to each other, they had one of those wonderful moments where like, hey, look, I'm panicking too. Oh my god, we have so much in common. And then they just continue barking at each other for no reason. Anyway, yeah, Ninja Guy decides to get close. Canopus decides to just, well, straight up murder his ass. So that's kind of about it. This fight, there wasn't anything too terribly special. I was considering getting a dragon or something, but decided to save it for later. At this point, we go ahead and we move on to the Vyce fight. During this time, I had gone and switched Denim over to a knight, and additionally gave him slightly heavier equipment. The reason for this is to try to slow him down as much as possible. You see, when you see that somebody is inevitably going to die, as every doctor show will tell you, you have to go and slow down their heart. So to that end, we weighed him down with the heaviest objects that we had in our inventory, and decided, you know what, this man is just going to lay on the ground, but very, very slowly. Because, one way or another, we have no way to push him back outside of repeatedly re-rolling to have that male archer take a tremendous shot at him, which is, I mean, it would eventually work, maybe, but realistically, we just let him fall down into the ground, and we just gotta go make sure to take care of Vyce before any kind of additional problems happen. So, to that end, we have a breach bottle over on our Beast Tamer. He's gonna go ahead and chuck that over on Vyce. We've had everybody saving up their finishers up to this point, as well as chomping down on some magic leaves to ensure that they have those finishers ready and willing to absolutely tenderize the annoying guy. And, additionally, we have several casters set up at diagonals. The overall plan here is twofold. For one thing, we have to harass the healer so that she continues healing herself rather than healing Vyce. If that doesn't work, we have to try to put pressure anywhere on any of the other units to make sure that their health bars are a lower percentage than Vyce by at least 10%. I don't know for sure that it's a threshold of at least 10%, but it certainly feels that way. It seems like anything more than that, and they will prioritize their leader. Any darn ways, we continue putting more and more pressure on him while continuously attacking the healer. You might notice at this point that there's a decent number of stuns that keep competing with each other off in the background. The reason for this is that we've had a chance to go and upgrade all of our weaponry at this point. I've gone and basically bought out every single debuff weapon that we can possibly have in order to give us more advantages, including the amazing stunning shortbow. This allows us to repeatedly put down about 20% stun chance shots downrange pretty much all the time. Yeah, they're not going to do amazing damage, but it doesn't really matter when they're not doing anything anyway. This allows us to stun the healer as well as stun that knight, which buys us a hell of a lot of time to be able to basically have this opening here to go smush Vyce real quick. Those repeated finishers off of Canopus aren't going to be too amazing, and I was thinking we'd probably get the job done right here with an Ice Blast, but unfortunately it decided to miss. Anyway, that healer attempts to go for the area heal, doesn't quite happen. Actually, that's one of the other little kind of AI manipulation things that you can occasionally do, is to convince an AI to get closer with their healer by giving them a big tempting area heal if you see the opportunity. It's situational, but it can potentially be just the little kind of edge you're looking for. A nice little way to make the AI make a mistake. Anyways, where we are is we are. Currently, Vyce is getting a bit low. He's doing his parries. But we have Paul of the IRS ready to lay down a smackdown, as, after all, does Vyce look like the kind of guy that willingly pays taxes? God, no, he doesn't. Anyway, so he's going to go ahead and leave as soon as his audit arrives. And this is going to be how you handle Chaos Vyce. Obviously, again, we weren't really moving Denim in any meaningful manner away from where he was, so he was just straight dead weight. Now, at this point, we were basically locked into Tynemouth Hill. Our only options were to go forward, which we probably would have been fine with, but Farampa is going to contain a lot of the tools that we're going to want in order to really, really have some fun in this challenge. See, up to this point, we've largely been relying on things like longbows, debuffs, as well as shield bashes in order to get into position and at least be able to touch our enemies from kind of near and far. But Farampa's got a lot of those fancier tools, and in this particular case, I noticed something immediately. Any map that has a kind of defensively orientated back row cleric is basically uncompletable. The way that a lot of the defensive AIs work, at least so far as I understand it, since not all of it is really discovered as of yet, is the fact that, yeah, if they don't have anything to protect, they just kind of leave. We'll actually notice this at the very tail end of this episode, because it's kind of where this episode ended for now. But when it comes to this cleric, he's got nobody to heal, he's got nobody to protect, so he's basically just going to stick back there. You can lure them out, but they absolutely love that back row, and they're going to repeatedly run into safety as soon as you try to do anything with them. So that's not going to be an option. This fight is functionally dead, and at this point I decided to try to start killing off my own units to see if maybe that would give us some sort of effect. Maybe he would start getting aggressive, maybe feeling like he had some sort of approach here. But in time, ultimately the answer that I decided was, you know what, screw it. I already redid this team. I redid a few little bits and pieces on them. I didn't feel like remembering what it was that I changed exactly, so I just decided to go and kill Denim so that we'd be able to start this fight from scratch. Is it needlessly cruel? Yeah, maybe, but it's also kind of funny. Yeah, death by mutiny and time travel is a little bit more convenient than just reloading a save. Alright, though that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the kinds of tools that are available to us here in Farampa. We not only have multiple new classes, but basically every type of beast unit that's going to be almost available to us for the time being. Again, not that we necessarily need them for the next fight or anything, but this is a nice little opportunity in which we might as well. Also, a couple other things I want to pick up here were specifically from this first and second map with the Griffins and the Dragons. We will drop the materials that we need in order to upgrade our mage staffs. I haven't gotten the upgrade as of just yet because I got distracted and forgot, but it's one of the very few cases... Oh, by the way, another wizard died. Whoops. It's one of the very few cases where we actually end up running into a situation where that Mage Staff +1 for its really expensive upgrade is actually worthwhile. Normally, it's something that you would just simply skip and move on to the Balder Mace for, because what are you using a staff for mage bonuses for this early for anyway? You might as well just go for the Balder Mace and just accept your new +2 Overlord, right? In this case, it's not necessarily that we need the bonus, but I just would like the option of pushing somebody back with a shield, and it allows us to get +2 range on a mage staff, which will be pretty useful for the time being. Now, again, we didn't get the initial things, but we did end up getting a dragon. So this is going to be the first of several types of units that I want to get. Not only is the obvious damage reflection pretty solid, but due to the fact that we're relying on a lot of longbows, their resonance abilities will allow us to have an instill effect on our arrows, which does a pretty significant bonus. It's roughly in the 20 to 25% ballpark, depending on a lot of situations. Yes, it technically goes above and below that. That's generally where you'll end up seeing it, though. But whenever they land a hit, oftentimes it goes from being just dangerous to potentially turning fatal with that bonus. Plus, it just kind of happens passively, so that's pretty convenient. So at that point, with a new dragon in hand, I decided one was good enough for the time being, just because we don't have to train up any new one. See, like right there? That would have been just an injury. It became a death. With that being said, the Griffin over here decides to go join us as well, who's actually going to be named after my daughter's pet Stuffy. So that's why, if you're wondering why their name's Barry, that's why. Anyway, we've got that new champ on our team here as well. And the reason for the Griffin is that they're actually going to be really good at tanking and sustaining. So Griffins have relatively low defenses, but pretty high health, and the ability to heal themselves up to full on top of this. Also, I forgot to mention, we did lose another archer here, and while recruiting the dragon, there was a cleric that ended up dying as well. So yes, our units are basically dropping like flies, but they are becoming way more bulky as a result. At this point, we move on to the Skeleton Trio map, and in this particular instance, I decided to go let rip with longbows pretty much immediately in order to make sure that they weren't going neutral on us and hanging out in the middle of the map. As much as I like to usually let them be and, joke about the sadness of the fact that we have to go kill our saviors here, in this particular instance, if they go to the center of the map, it functionally becomes uncompletable for us, so I'm going to go ahead and kill them off immediately, and then we absolutely get the God spawn over in the Feral Shore. So this is the real prize of Farampa at this point. It opens in the first variant that we get, and the thing here is that we can recruit just about every type of zombie unit that we could need for a run like this. We get zombie enchantresses, which, as you may notice by our consistently dying wizards left and right, we're going to want some of those that can potentially just come back to life. While the amazing parrying dagger is constantly able to save them, it's not going to save them all the time. So generally, it would be nice to be able to do something along the lines of just having them come back to their feet, especially given how rare Exorcism actually is during the story mode portion of the game. They will become functionally useless in the post-game, but for the time being, it will be very useful for us. Anyway, we end up getting our first zombie octopus. Now, the reason that the zombie octopus is relevant is once again due to our longbows. See, while we can spend a lot of money in order to go use our beast tamer to go throw a breach onto any targets that we need, we have a renewable source of breach breach coming out of their nice little mouth cannons. Every time that they roll another Aqua Veil, they're able to shoot out an Aqua Bubble, which has a chance to breach. A pretty significant chance to breach that actually scales off of Mind. So once we get their Mind high enough, we actually should be able to have that dang near guaranteed with every shot that they fire. Additionally, same applies for Poison Rain. Currently, our Poison Cloud is doing the job well enough, but if we can additionally do a significant amount of damage, as well as having it attack with just as much range for the time being, and as well as hit multiple extra targets, and also have a near guaranteed chance to inflict poison, that is going to benefit us quite significantly. So the eventual kind of dream goal of this particular save right here is actually going to be a front line of 4 octopi, as well as 2 longbows, as well as 2 beast tamers nearby them, as well as some dragons in there as well. Now, the reason that we actually have both dragons and beasts at the same time is you might be wondering, wait a minute, if you can empower dragon and empower beast, wouldn't you want somebody to use one of those skills at the same time? Well, since we can't pick up skill cards a vast majority of the time, this means that we want to kind of leverage our odds here. So if we have multiple different types of units that can get a benefit out of the Empower at the same time, this means that whenever the skill decides to roll, we can go ahead and take advantage of both. So effectively, this means that we get multiple rolls rather than just simply hoping that the one does its job. We can also just accomplish this by getting multiple Beast Tamers, but if we get multiple Beast Tamers along with multiple slots, that would be amazing. Anyway, Empowered Poison Rain, it absolutely slaps even in its base form, so for the time being, we have an absolute killer on our hands in the form of that octopus. Anytime that Aqua Veil rolls, something dies. And additionally, if there's any water nearby, we can simply shove him into the water and feed him a leaf, and there we go, suddenly we have instant artillery. That being said, we can't really do very much about this, Pharrell right now, because I specifically have not been going out of my way to go for any kind of anti-armor options for the most part. We did recruit one of his soldiers. That soldier ended up dying, which is fine because we get all of their equipment. One of the nice benefits of actually getting a hold of, well, basically using a recruit rather than just killing a unit, is that you do get access to everything they were carrying rather than just rolling for a chance of whatever they had on hand. Anyways, with a combination of Breach as well as any finishers that we've got, we're able to pretty conveniently punch through Pharrell's armor, even without any elemental advantages. That longbow over there that was taking that dark weight was attacking with an elemental disadvantage in that case, so they were really only getting a very minor bonus, if anything. Anyway, at this point, actually, that was the other thing. Tail Lash is another one of those nice benefits of dragons in particular, because if we get any frontline units, while their basic melee attacks are okay against defenses, Tail Lash, as always, has been a pretty solid anti-armor option. All of their boulders and such like that basically function the same way as arrows without the skills. And also, we've consistently been taking advantage of the fact that pushbacks into other objects give you an additional 10 damage, so things like shield bashes, as well as the fact that heavy throwing rocks seem to have a higher knockback chance, did benefit pretty greatly in terms of kind of generating better offense for us there. Additionally, then, we get access to our first cockatrices. Now, I was attempting to recruit these. Unfortunately, there's, again, only a brief window to actually get them recruited. But more so, I was worried about the kinds of things that they could potentially do to our party if they went kind of all willy-nilly, as they usually do. Seeing as Petrification would completely shut down this party even more so than usual, since we don't even have the option to go and scatter around in order to basically avoid their Petro Breath. So, to that end, what I did was actually went and I had already pre-prepared for this with Folkert. I gave him one of the fancy custom swords that we made back at the start of the chapter. And we gave him a Rapier +1, which has a Fall Strike effect on there, which means that any targets that he's going after, which given that he's ice, those guys are air, many of the other targets are air, this means that he'll typically be dropping a lot more Fall Strike on these enemy units. This generally not only helps him to survive a bit longer, but additionally helps to make sure that we're not getting attacked as much as well. We can't really control anything that he does, but hey, we might as well make sure that he's doing it better, right? Now, we had a few brief opportunities to go after those cockatrices, but there really wasn't too much in the way of options. I think we had like one roll chance of like 14% or so, and to absolutely everybody's shock and awe here, Bayan actually doesn't survive. I know, I was really really amazed by that as well. I was sure that would finally be the time that he made it. Now, that being said, it's probably a good thing. It would have been pretty difficult to handle the Veldre fight in our current situation. Not impossible, mind you, but it basically would have required a lot of recruiting, and then hopefully we got somebody with a short bow, and then if that somebody with a short bow happened to be within range of Veldre, we just would basically sit there attempting to use that over and over, and hopefully piggybacking healings up the stairs. There was a plan for it. thankfully we didn't have to use it. I wasn't exactly going to go out of my way in order to make sure that this harder scenario happened. Anyway, with that being said, we get a lucky parry off of our wizard, because again, this just seems to happen all the dang time with these wizards. That parrying dagger absolutely puts in work. I'm like, I know that it's mechanically not in there, but honestly, if somebody said that they discovered one day that there was a kind of hidden bonus that fatal attacks are like 50% more likely to parry or something, I honestly would not be shocked. Anyway, so with that being said, we are once again in a situation where we see Volkert absolutely going apeshit on his entire party. The guy was responsible for the vast majority of the kills in this particular situation, because not only is that rapier +1 pretty darn solid for this portion in the game, the fact that he's going and dropping false flights everywhere, or false strikes everywhere, definitely helped to keep everybody alive. We did see a few units begin to start doing the whole dying thing, and it was very inconvenient. If you're wondering why I forgot to go pick up more blessing stones, it's because I forgot to pick up more blessing stones. And we'll look into that no further. Anyway, so at this point, we continue doing things like firing crossbows, and also, unfortunately, despite the fact that that dagger saved his life earlier, we still end up losing yet another wizard. At this point, Lasagna, our beloved wonderful octopus over here, decides to go throw a rock at Darza. This doesn't really do very much, but it is impressive looking. And we have our healer who will continue healing. We'll see more and more value coming out of Major Heal as we continue on here. Bear in mind at this point, he can functionally heal about 1,000 health with a single movement. Yes, I know, it's so worthless to have a cleric in your party. Anyway, with 2 more physical up cards, we have Volkert, who is basically just, I mean, he was going nuts before. He's even more nuts now. Nobody can really stop his unhinged self. He doesn't know what happened to his girlfriend, and we're never going to find out. But one thing that is worth mentioning is the fact that ninja spells are still pretty darn useful for this particular situation, given that we're kind of in a situation that we can spam them pretty regularly on account of not really having to worry about kind of keeping our distance anywhere. Right. If you're wondering about that ninja's loadout, Nightblade is just a really good neutral type of attack to get past defenses for, well, where we are right now. It's got pretty solid range, and additionally his spells are pretty good at dealing with a lot of medium targets there. So in general, I'm fine with him firing that basic short bow, specifically the basic version, not the upgraded version, to be a little bit faster, to go fire out those stoning arrows, and then all the rest of his MP is gone and spent on things like either Nightblade, if it's a heavier target, or the spells if it's a sort of like medium type of thing. Now, with one little adjustment, actually 2 little adjustments, this fight would have actually been a win. Despite the fact that we almost seem to be soft-locked at the end of it, this actually is a winnable fight, despite the fact that it's entirely uphill and the guy likes to run away. So, let's go ahead and discuss here real quick. So this is Dagon, the guy with a tragic story in which he has his daughter who has a fatal illness, and the only way to possibly save her is 30 grand, but rather than asking us if we've just conveniently got that laying around, because we actually kind of do, he decides to go try to murder us instead. Honestly, if he would just come by and just collect that tithe, we'd be okay just carrying on our way. So first order of business, I wanted to make sure that we had as many units down here doing as much nonsense as possible, so I decided to start breaking all of the nearby props in order to try and clear out the zone. This will spawn additional cards, which additionally should max out the card spawn limit, so hopefully they're not getting additional like physical ups and stuff over there, so we don't have to deal with that stuff as much. Additionally, I was trying to slow down Volkert here in order to make sure that he wasn't going too far out of his way, because we wanted to make sure that he got trapped in here with us so that he could survive. After all, there's basically 2 ways that this ends up happening. One of those ways became clear by the end of the fight, but the initial plan was the fact that I would be able to reach the guy as long as Volkert survives. The thing with Volkert surviving is that he is one hell of a non-life attached dude, so he will go out of his way to try to get himself killed at every possible opportunity by going and charging straight ahead. He is the absolute embodiment of Leroy Jenkins, but it is what it is. Now, he does end up getting trapped in here with us, which is good, but he ends up getting frightened, which is bad. So we end up not getting these early kills as fast as we potentially could have, because the Terranite and the Ninja are basically supposed to be complete butter in his face. Unfortunately, yeah, they end up not happening. So let's go ahead and talk about a quick quirk of the AI here, where we have Mr. Dagon, who actually feels very comforted by his cleric. Now, there's a lot of little relationships that go on with the AI units. I don't know specifically how far this goes, but it does seem like a lot of them interact specifically with specific units. So, for example, Dagon likes to stay in front of his cleric for whatever reason. He likes to constantly try to advance in front of the guy in order to basically keep him safe, and additionally will advance ahead aggressively to protect his own units in the front here. However, if you decide to go across the threshold with those rooftops over there, he will then retreat to the back of the map. Additionally, if his cleric is killed, he will also retreat to the back of the map. I don't know if there's a bit more of a story there, but you go ahead and infer what you will. Anyway, with that being said, you'll notice he's getting pretty darn close to the rest of our team here, given everything. So, realistically, the plan here is just if we would be able to, let's say, keep Volkert at maximum health, maybe give him a resilient or something, we actually could make sure that he would handle the kill for us, basically just going off on a solo mission of his own. As long as he has MP, and as long as he has a little bit of HP to keep himself surviving for a few rounds, he easily could overpower Dagon entirely by himself. But for the time being, that's not looking amazingly likely. Actually, if we were able to change his class at this point into something like a Terror Knight, and just have him go repeatedly spam fire health steals or something, that actually would be pretty darn useful. Or hell, even turn him into an archer. But for the time being, unfortunately, the dream of the Divine Archer is not quite happening. However, I am planning to attempt to do this with a Divine Archer next round. Now, the reason that this ended up stopping is, believe it or not, because of the same AI quirks that we already discussed. We'll see if you can figure out the flaw of the plan once I start kind of killing off every single unit here. You'll notice that we have a few golems that we've trapped behind our party, and this is definitely making them a bit more aggressive as they're trying to keep those golems safe. This is a very important detail, but anyways, Dagon continues to stay up on that hill. He's not terribly far away, he is within range of many of our attacks, and he's got a nice firing line on everybody. That's presumably why he likes it up there. So we continue attacking with everyone in our team, we continue trying to get these different units on our side, and realistically pacifying these golems here would be a lot easier than simply what I was trying to do. Actually, potentially even just going and turning his own archers against them would also have been a pretty solid option. But obviously, in this case, we took the genocide route, and, you know, complications occur from that. So, we keep getting punched by golems, we keep getting dealt unfortunate hands here and there, and realistically, going after this cleric was probably the biggest mistake, because again, remember, he likes to hang out nearby this cleric. So we see the opportunity thinking, you know what, if this guy's alive, surely he's going to keep Dagon alive, and we can't chip him down, because if he's going to get this close, surely we can get somebody close enough to potentially hit him with something. At least that was the thought at the time. Yeah, should have done a bit more analysis about it, but it's perfectly fine. Also, if you're wondering, yes, Vita the Knight over here, the unkillable soldier that keeps coming back, she can't actually heal, which is one of the reasons that we're keeping knights around in this particular thing, but she's here for a very particular reason. I actually put her in the wrong tile, but she's here to make sure that if a unit gets down, we would be able to trap them in here. So she would essentially be able to drop a Rampart Shadow in order to keep them in place. Unfortunately, again, for the time being, we can't really do that, but she's effectively going to be our gatekeeper for the foreseeable future here. Additionally, I probably should mention earlier, some of the additional objectives that we were doing were to avoid doing any additional training, where, for example, during one of the fights, I ended up shield bashing somebody into a card in order to make sure that we would be able to get an additional 5 experience charms in order to get Chloe up to a higher level. Anyway, Major Heal continues to absolutely pay dividends at this point. That ability is absolutely nutty for this point in the game. And, once again, Dagon is happily raining down death on us wherever he can. Unfortunately, Volkert is proving to be a bit of a problem, and this is why I was mentioning that it actually would have been better to have that knight over there on the side where that soldier is right now, because she could put a Rampart Aura up and prevent him from moving forward any. The annoying thing is that, yes, he early on, he will continuously just put himself in harm's way in order to something profit, I don't know. But eventually we do end up getting the entire zone cleared out, at which point we were just going to go heal him so he could go win the fight. But of course, absolutely brilliant master strategist that he is, Volkert decides, you know what, fuck it, I got this, and decides to go use his amazing newfound berserker strength to go and take out Mr. Dagon. Can you guess how well this went for him? That's right, he died, and this was a complete failure. But next time, we will not be running into that same failure. So, that's about that for this episode. That's about how that went. You know what this guy did for the entire rest of this time? Well, as soon as he killed off the one guy that was coming after him, what did we talk about the AI doing earlier? What is it that they absolutely love to do when there's none of their allies to protect? Also, I was a little bit curious here why the hell we ended up getting a prize for him dying. I guess he got knocked into a buff card or something, but suddenly, hey, free Balder Sword because he died. But yeah, no. As soon as he has nobody left to protect, he just freaking pieces out. Like he's done. Peace, y'all. I'm done here. Like these guys are trapped. They can't move anywhere. Go ahead and call the cops. I'm getting my friggin' bounty. We're just sitting here at the bottom of the friggin' Goliath here as they just build bars around the party. We can't do anything to stop this. Anyway, that's about that. So y'all have yourselves a good one. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.